IncubatorWarehouse.com presents Hatch Talk Podcast. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Hatch Talk. I'm Shawn Bailey,
I'm Patrick Lyle.
and we are talking about incubator prep today. You know, incubation is just around the corner. It's got a lot of people's minds. This is our busiest time of the year for IncubatorWarehouse.com. Things really kick up. You do want to start thinking about your incubators. There's a lot of prep work that goes in before your actual eggs go into the incubator. And that's what we're talking about today. We're going to be talking about what to avoid the hatching mistakes that kill your hatch rates before it even starts. So
That's right.
if you're wanting to get better hatch rates, stay tuned for more. We're going to be going over everything you need to know to get your incubators up and running and set up. So before you start hatching, Patrick, what are some things that we definitely want to watch out for before we start getting going?
Well, generally, it's just as easy as just plugging your incubator in, throwing the eggs in, and you're ready to rock at that point. That's really all you need to do for, good hatch rate. But in reality, that is not the way it's going to work. Generally, what we see people do is they think they can get their eggs before their incubator. Incubator shows up, they're just going to plug it in and throw everything in, and they're going to be ready to go. And unfortunately, that's just not the way it works. If you want good hatch rates, you've got to put good prep work in. Essentially, is what it comes down to. Um, I always suggest, you get your incubator in, you're going to go through a few steps. It's good to make sure the incubator's clean and sanitized. It's good to make sure that you've ran that incubator for 24, 48 hours.
And
Also good,
even
have
if
a
it's a
good
new
room.
incubator, I recommend wiping it down and cleaning it off because
Hmm. Hmm.
there could be chemicals from the construction period, glue that hasn't set, and that might affect your hatch rate. So if you think, oh, I've got this brand new incubator, it's plug and play, ready to go. Yes and no. Be careful. Give it a good wipe down, wash down.
Yep. Make sure it's a nice sanitized environment. You're creating life inside of a little container. So you want to do the best you can to make sure that it's clean and a healthy place to raise some little babies. Um, One thing that you've got to keep in mind is that, incubation and failure rates don't happen necessarily towards the end of incubation all the time. They can happen before the eggs even get in the incubator.
That's true.
Um, it's super important the environment the incubator is in, making sure the incubator is up and running and holding a proper temperature, all those things that you want to do, just to familiarize yourself with your incubator, make sure that it's running properly, and make sure that it's holding a nice steady temperature with not too high, not too low of a variance. That's the things that you're going to want to do and that we're going to kind of help you with throughout this podcast, and we're going to talk about it a bit.
So what do you recommend? How long do you recommend having your incubator plugged in and running for?
So if it's something that you're super familiar with, say you just got off a hatch and you're ready to go again, you could get away with 12 hours, 6 to 12 hours, maybe, just to make sure it's still running as intended. But if it's something you put away for the season or something you just got from us or from another company that's not as cool as us, you always want to make sure that you're running it for 24 to 48 hours. This is a good break-in period that kind of lets you test the limits and just kind of see how that incubator is going to run. It gives it a chance to acclimate to the environment, warm up, get it a steady running temperature. You can test egg turners. You can test your hatch timers. You can also do a little method where you can double check the temperature readout from the incubator against a trusted thermometer or hygrometer, whatever you have.
I highly
There's
recommend that, by the way.
Yeah,
Yeah, when
yeah.
I
There's Go ahead.
personal sorry
No, you're fine.
a personal experience. We've been doing this emu hatch challenge. If you've been following us on the socials, you see that we're working on hatching a bunch of emus right now. And the first ones we put into our hobovator, the hobovator wasn't able to turn all four eggs at once, which actually led to some innovation on our part, fixing a structural um, overlook. And now our kits for the Hobovator, not Hobovator, the Nurture Right 360 um, can work really well. So shout out to our R&D. And if you have bought one of our emu egg kits in the past, we have an adapter for you. Let us know if you need one.
Yeah, side note, a common issue that people are experiencing with that particular egg turner is either it was the motor was so strong that it was kind of stripping out the connector point, and it wasn't sitting high enough to where it got a good grip on those eggs and turned them. So we took care of both those problems. We got it figured out, and it is working to perfection at this point.
Nice.
Any customers who have ordered that from us in the past and they're not happy with it, it's not working as intended, just reach out to us. Service at incubatorwarehouse.com. It's the best way to do it, and we can get you taken care of on that end.
Exactly. And speaking of that, that's another good hatch prep too. When we're prepping the emu eggs, the nurture right has that riser, and if you have any other kind of adaptive equipment that's going in an incubator, you want to make sure that everything's on the right temperature. You can't just pull that out of a box that's been sitting in the cold and have your warm incubator. It's not going to fit right. So you got to make sure all your pieces are going to be at the same temperature for everything you're
Yep.
doing. And that can go across for all kinds of incubators, um,
Yep.
even even big cabinet incubators. If things are off, things won't fit right, and you might get a bind or something like that. So that's something definitely to watch out for. Make sure your parts and pieces are all in the same kind of temperature before you get
Yep.
going. That's a common
Def-
mistake.
definitely all about prep, and then you can incubate. But prep first. Don't skip the important step. Don't just plug it in and let it go. I mean, do your due diligence and make sure that incubator is running as it should be running.
Yeah, and I like I said, we just started this emu hatch challenge. I had my IncuView 3 Pro at the house, so I took some of those emu eggs back, and I just cleaned it out the other day, and those emu eggs should have been ready to go. And I didn't do a test run on it right away. I thought, oh, I just wasn't ready to go. No, I wasn't. uh, I realized I completely forgot to put water in appropriately. my my temps were up and down. I was chasing humidity left and right, but I finally got it dialed in. But it took me a good 24 hours just to get dialed in, and that's what people don't realize. You can't just
Mhm.
plug and play. Even if it just came off a hatch, you got to make sure things are running right and they're ready to go. Because sometimes it just takes a minute for it to go.
Yep. Yep. That is correct. Just like any tool, it needs to be kept clean and sharp and in good working condition, regardless of how much you've been using it. You've always got to make sure you're taking care of the incubator.
Well, let's start with some of the biggest mistakes people make. Um, is where they actually put their incubator, especially tabletop incubators. They're smaller. Here are the places I would never put my tabletop incubator. Okay. First off, I would never put it in my garage. Okay.
Nope.
Your garage is not insulated enough. The temperatures widely vary. It's going to put a lot of strain on the motor on that thing, and you're going to get big spikes and big dips in temperature. Conversely, on that too, I would never put it in a place like in my living room. I have a fireplace in there, and that living room gets really hot with a fireplace. So that's a bad place. Another bad place would be in a barn. Once again, you're going to be chasing cold unless you've got a fully heated barn. And if you've got that, I mean, you're doing things right, right? um, those,
Yeah,
those are the places I
I
would never put it.
yeah, I've solved many a customer issues with temperature variances and swing issues and just temperatures not hitting the proper points and holding just by simply figuring out, you know, where are you keeping this? What kind of condition is it being kept in? And what's that ambient room temperature? Because
Mm-hmm.
especially, the smaller incubators, like Shawn was saying, they're very susceptible to outside temperature
Oh yeah.
swings.
Even
That
if you have it close to a window, that can be a
mhm.
problem.
Yep,
Um,
a little bit of sunlight, a little bit of breeze.
yeah.
Yep. Yep,
So
yep,
yeah.
yep. It's definitely good to just, keep it in. So I have folks who have run them in their closets, laundry rooms, spare rooms, just places that are out of the way. They're not going to, be having people in and out, doors open and closing, windows open and closing. You're going to hold that temperature between 70 and 80 degrees roughly. And by doing that, you're just going to ensure that your incubator is holding a nice tight temperature, has nice tight variances, and nothing is going to be thrown out of whack by an outside source like a breeze, a vent, sunlight, fireplace, or just a room not being properly insulated and having to deal with the outside temperatures essentially.
True. Yeah. So yeah, you definitely want to get in a stable environment with that temperature not ranging and humidity not ranging. I'd be
Mm-hmm.
careful even putting them in like my laundry room gets very humid when the dryer is on, so that could have a big impact too. So you got to
Yep.
watch out for those environmental factors on your incubator, and that'll definitely it can affect your hatch rate quite a bit for sure.
That is correct. But even then, even in a perfectly ambient, controlled room, still got to do your prep. Still there are things you got to do. You can't just throw it in a nice room and forget it. We got plenty of stuff that we want you to pay attention to and we want you to do to just make sure you're giving yourself the best chance for a good hatch rate.
Exactly. So keep that in mind. Where you put your incubator matters. Think about those little variations, and that's going to be a big thing before you even start the incubation process. Okay, so we got our room picked out. It's going to be in a good stable spot. What do we want to do next? Here are some things we want to definitely watch out for, and some myths that we want to check. Number one, just because it's brand new doesn't mean it should be ready to go out of the box. That's a good myth. We barely touched on that a little bit, but shipping, dust, residual factory oils, vibrations can affect sensors. All that transportation can affect exactly how your incubator's running. We
Yep.
test all of our incubites before we ship them out. We calibrate them down, get them going. But you always want to check when you get home. So it's always good to get a good thermometer and hydrometer to check and see what's going on.
That is correct. Yep. And we commonly refer to it as a trusted thermometer or hygrometer. And what we mean by that is just one that you trust is giving you a good reading, one that you know is trustworthy. There's not a certain brand or style. If you're not using ours, there are others on the market that you can use. But you just want to make sure that you're using one that you know is giving you a pretty good temperature reading.
Yeah, and I know some of the fancy ones with the apps and stuff, they can really freak you out. Especially you're seeing these big peaks and valleys in the reading, and like, oh, things are going crazy. No, it's just picking up data points. So
Yep.
you want to follow, and if you were tracking your own plot graph, you would be freaked out too if you're not dialing things in ahead of time. Same things with your smart thermometers and hydrometers. If you've seen in the app, you see a lot of big spikes and peaks and valleys, and you're like, why is this thing going on like crazy? No, it's just monitoring the relative change, which can be as simple as the motor turning on.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
Yep. We
that's
we common see there's a certain brand out there that people are very attached to. It's a great brand. I'm not going to mention it here. I don't want to give anybody any ideas for this podcast, anyways. But it feeds back to an app on your phone, and it's very much so a constant live reading. When the thermostat turns off and it cools down, it shows that drop. When it turns back on and it warms up, it shows that temperature raise, and that's totally normal. You're going to have some variances. It doesn't have to stay, at a 99.5 throughout the whole time. You want an average of 99.5, but you're going to see ups and downs. If you have a proportional thermostat, you'll see it a little less, but a traditional on-off thermostat, you're going to see those spikes. Our Incutherm, it doesn't do a constant reading, so you're not getting you're not seeing everything that's going on. It gives you in spurts. It's once every few seconds it'll update the readout or whatever. And in my personal opinion, that kind of gives a little less to worry about. You're not seeing all the fluctuations happening in real time. And if you're not educated or used to incubation, it's kind of better not to see those and stress yourself out. But I can say if you are using one of the fancier thermometers, it does give you that reading, and you see those variances going up and down all the time. Don't worry, totally normal, especially if it's staying within a tight temperature range. You always want to look at your average. Your average is what's important.
True, true. Well, I mean, continuing on too. After you got things are dialed in, but before you do that too, you want to make sure things are clean and sanitized as well for your incubators. After each hatch, I mean, if you've never incubated before, here's a clue: when chicks hatch and they have that lockdown staying in there to get all warm and fluffy, they get gross.
Yeah.
You're it gets nasty
Yeah.
to
A
clean
lot of
it out.
pooping, a lot of pooping going
A
on in
lot of
there.
pooping, a lot of
A
pooping, and
lot of residue from the eggs, and just there's a whole lot that goes on in there.
mildew,
Um,
bacteria. I mean, you've got a humid environment. It's primed to do that. So
a stinky, humid environment, FYI.
exactly. So I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
you're gonna get bacterial growth on it. So you have to give it a good wipe down, but you don't want to overdo it. So there's a difference between cleaning and over sanitizing, right?
yep, yep.
Mm,
Speaking of stinky, you want to stay away from the harsh chemicals. You want to stay away from anything that's going to permeate within the incubator, because that is going to be the quickest way to kill your embryos before they're even fully developed.
Yep.
Bleaches, things like that, any kind of harsh chemical, just absolutely stay away. A little bit of warm water and some Dawn dish soap works just fine.
Right.
You can get away with sanitizing wipes. I prefer not to use the bleach ones, just again, because of the harsh smell and chemicals. Um, but you can get away with a lot of things. I've even in the past, I've used some styrofoam incubators that had gotten pretty nasty, and I couldn't get them clean with soap and water. So I actually just put them out in the sun and sun bleached them a little bit, and that cleaned up everything, got rid of all the mildew and all the buildup that was in there, and they worked just fine after that.
There's a hack right there.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Let the sun desanitize it. That's great. But yeah, I mean, just think about cleaning it like washing your hands, right? You wouldn't want to wash your hands in bleach all the time. That's gonna be bad for your skin. It's gonna be, it's gonna be bad for you. So warm soapy water. That's the most for your plastically type surfaces. But follow your manufacturer guidelines and instructions. But most of them are gonna say warm soapy water for
Yep.
sure.
So far we've gotten the good room you want them in, the good wipe down you want to have happen, and now we're on to the 24 to 48 hour test run. After all that's been done, you can start your test run, make sure that it's holding temp and doing everything it should do.
Yeah, exactly. You want to make sure because what I mean, I don't know if you guys know this, but Patrick is the incubator wizard. He knows more than any
Self-proclaimed, self-proclaimed, but I'll
self-proclaimed.
take it.
I mean, he's got a paladin title on that. He could do. I mean, he knows more about incubators than I could ever learn or forget. So, what are some of the most common things to watch out for part failure? Because you're on that 24 hours. You put in for your eggs, and that can here's the thing: if you're buying expensive chickens and they're coming in the mail, you're maybe spending $20 to $40, maybe more on expensive chicken eggs.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you're like, okay, I did a little test run, it's good. No, do a long test run because what you might see it might fail. What are some parts that you commonly see fail, Patrick?
So I'm going to start at the top and just work my way down through the incubator. So um, one of the first things that you're always going to want to check and make sure that is in good shape and working properly is your thermostat and your thermostat sensors. You want to make sure, like say during shipping, that none of the wires got damaged, the thermostat sensor didn't get broken or anything like that. You want to make sure your screen reads properly. There's nothing worse than throwing eggs in an incubator and not being able to read your screen. Um, that's generally, that's really all you need to worry about so much with the thermostat, besides it obviously not heating. From there, we're going to move on down to the egg turner. Now, the egg turner could have multiple issues. They generally are going to revolve around the motor itself. Depending on the make and model, your motor is either going to be mounted to the side or mounted underneath your incubator. Um, and one of the biggest issues that I've seen with them is where they just get bound up and jam. They run, they get hot, they mess with the temperature of the incubator, and they just don't turn. Um, so for some of them, it could take up to 4 hours for it to do a complete rotation. So you've really got to pay attention. You've got to mark, where your egg turner, if you're using the traditional yellow egg turner, we'll call it, you want to mark where it's sitting. So if you're tilted like this, take a picture of it, check it 2 hours later, and it should be, about leveled out or working its way to the other side. That's kind of an important thing to do just to make sure that those slower turn motors are actually operating as intended. Um, Another thing to watch out for is any kind of binding that happens due to the plastic not being cleaned. And I don't mean cleaned like sanitized. I mean like any burrs or chunks of mold residue from when it's being molded and made. If that gets stuck on there, that's enough to get it bound up and make it not turn properly. That can toast your motor really quick if that's happening. So you always want to make sure on your new turners that you're checking the plastic, make sure there's no what do we call them? Burrs, spurs? I don't know what they're called, but you don't want
Yeah,
any plastic chunky parts
the
hanging off there.
the plastic residue that happens.
Yep. Some incubators, they come with a hatch timer, and that hatch timer, it could be something that's just counts down the days until hatch, or for some models like the IncuView 3 Pro, it actually turns the egg turner off for the last 3 days of incubation so that you don't have to mess with it. If you're not resetting that hatch timer or making sure that hatch timer is set properly from the time you put the eggs in, that can cause havoc. You could have your eggs sitting there not turning for several days, probably not catch it until it's too late. Um, or you could have it. Say you're doing your test run, you've let it run for a few days. You don't reset it when you put those eggs in. It's going to go into lockdown early on you. It's going to cause tons of issues with embryonic growth and exercise. So you definitely want to make sure you're checking your hatch timers, making sure those things are set to 21 days if you're doing chicken egg, of course, or 16 days when you're doing quail, whatever it may be, when you put the eggs in, not when you turn the incubator on.
Right. And that goes right into the next thing you definitely want to watch out for. You got to make sure your egg turner is actually working, because that could be a silent killer. If you're just like assuming, oh, it plugged and play, it's actually it's on, it's working. That can be a big problem if it really isn't. You just assume it actually is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that'll really cut your hatch rate down a ton if you're not getting those eggs turned. So keep an
Yep.
eye on it through a couple of cycles. See what works. Put a little do a test egg in there. Put a little sticker on it. Mark the egg. Make sure it's turned over, and it's working just fine.
Now, if you do get into a situation where you have that happening and you're not sure, you'll know by the first candling because you'll see that embryo more or less settled down to wherever the bottom of that egg may be in the incubator. And at that point, usually you're doing about 3 to 4 days into incubation. It's not too late to save it. It's not too late to save the hatch. If you can get that turner working again, start getting those eggs turning, exercising that embryo, you should be fine. Not guaranteeing it, but in theory and in the process of actually doing it myself, you should be able to save your hatch at that point.
Right.
That's an early detection.
That's a good litmus test. It's the canary in the coal mine, as it were. If you can really hone in and see what you're doing for your egg candler, for sure.
Correct. Um, and this isn't necessarily a failure point, but something you want to do, obviously. And we talked about this a little earlier. Just double check your temperatures, fill up your water tray, double check your humidity levels, make sure that it's gonna have the proper levels and everything you need to get going. That way, it's not something you're trying to set after you get the eggs in there. It's like I said, not necessarily a machine failure point, but that's more of a human failure point.
Mm-hmm.
So you just want to make sure that you're paying attention to that and having everything, and I mean everything checked and ready to go. It's important to make sure that every aspect of your incubator is running top notch and performing as it should, so that you get the best possible hatch rate.
And the accessories too. Like for example, dumb mistake that I did, getting ready for this emu hatch challenge. I plugged in my humidikit, had everything going. Um, Forgot to put in the humidity sensor back into the incubator. So it was reading the room incubation and it was working overtime. I just a misstep, forgot to put it in there. Went to a movie with my wife, came back, and the incubator looked like a cloud. It was 117% humidity in there, which I mean, opened it up, dried it out. Fingers
It's
crossed.
just you saved it. You saved it.
I
You did
saved
just
it. I
fine.
mean, that was a short
Yeah.
period of time. Eggs are pretty healthy. You know, they're hardy. I mean, they're going
Right.
to experience getting defecated on by a chicken for crying out loud. The humidity levels are going to go up and down for an egg too.
Yeah.
But hey, make sure if you're utilizing external devices like a humidikit that you put all of the pieces together too. Don't
Right.
assume things
Right.
are working. And don't, because I looked at the humidity sensor on the humidikit, like, oh, it's on temperature. It matches what my incubator says. Well, yeah, but it wasn't in the incubator.
Right.
So,
And for anybody wondering what the heck Shawn's talking about, what's a humidikit? So a humidikit is an external device that we sell here at Incubator Warehouse. You can find it on our website. What it does is it takes one of these water bottles, which I turned into my own drinking water bottle, and it pumps it through a little misting system, comes through a hose that's hooked to the usually the venting port in your incubator, and it feeds humidity in that way. So you don't have to put water into the tray underneath it or whatever your incubator requires you to do. It's an external source of humidity. You set what you want your humidity at. You make sure your sensor's in that incubator, and that humidikit is going to control that humidity for you. It's amazing. For the most part, I kind of refuse to incubate without it, but it's not compatible with all models of incubators, and sometimes testing just I don't want to use the humidikit, but for all my personal hatches, anything I'm doing, I run a humidikit. It is amazing.
and I tell you what, when I was doing my last hatch with my little chicken silkies, I didn't use a humidikit for half of it. And it was annoying having to check on that humidity level every day and then eyeball how much water do I want to put in the tray. Even with having the little tank on there, I was still chasing it.
Yep.
But with
Yep.
the humidikit, it was literally plug and play, set it and forget it. And it stayed a constant humidity. The atomizer works perfectly on it, provides the exact amount of humidity that you're looking for. So, I mean, if you're really wanting to dial in and up your hatch rate success, dialing in your humidity is a big thing. And if you really are serious about it, having an external source of humidity like the humidikit honestly is a game changer to get that hatch rate success where you're looking to be, the 9900%.
I agree. I agree. It is. It's amazing little innovation, and it's spoiled me. And I prefer just to use it. I can't run without it most of the time.
Exactly. Well, any other things we need to talk about 48 hours ahead of time? Always good reminder, especially of little kids, a little prep work like, hey, don't be opening the incubator. You want to look at the chicks. You always give them a little prep work. Nothing's wrong. You don't want to fix it. Just let it do its thing. That's a little mental prep work, especially when definitely later when we're talking about lockdown. That's a big thing to do.
Yep. The only time you should be opening your incubator is to candle your eggs technically. Most incubators nowadays have external water ports, so you don't even have to open the lid to add water to them anymore. It's really just some mental prep and making sure that you can resist opening that incubator and messing with things, because you really don't need to. It's just going to throw off the whole internal environment and just kind of cause some chaos that you could prevent easily by just leaving it alone.
True. All right. Well, Patrick, is there anything else we need to recap on you know prep work for your incubator? You know, we want to make
Yeah.
sure that the incubator's in a good spot. It's up and running. Everything's going good. It's never as easy as plug and play.
Yep. So
What
so
else?
these are the things that you should always do when you're setting up your incubator for the first time for the season or after a long hatch. You always want to make sure that you give it a test run. You always want to make sure that it's been sanitized. No harsh chemicals, just some soap and water, something to keep it clean, keep all the dander out of it and all the poop and mildew cleaned up. You always, and I'm going to reiterate this, always want to do a test run, 24 to 48 hours. You do not want to skip that, because that's going to be a good indicator of how your incubator is going to run. You want to make sure that your hatch timer is set if your incubator has it, and you want to make sure that you verified that your egg turner is indeed turning the eggs. You can figure all this out within that 24 to 48 hour test period. And after that, you're going to be good to go to put your eggs in. And hopefully, if you've done everything right, you'll get a great hatch rate.
Yeah, and that's what it comes down to. Your preparation precedes your success, and that's for anything in life, people. So prepare, get it ready to go, and your success rate's going to go up. Your hatch rate's going to go up, and you're going to get a lot more happy chicks.
That is right. That is right.
All right. Well, let's say we do a little Coop It or Crap It, shall we?
I love Coop It or Crap It. Let's do it.
Let's watch some chicken hacks from around the internet. Okay.
Is it a useful tip or just clickbait? Is it a chicken hack or is it just crap? Keep it in your coop or flush it like poop. We clip the net, we rate the scoop. Coop it or crap it.
First up, we have the Ranch Garden Life from TikTok with the little chicken prep.
Okay, if you have chickens, you got to make sure you do
every
this
single
absolutely
night.
every night.
Right.
Are you ready? So this is our brand new chicken coop, and every single night you need to lock them in. You even got to close up their little door. Now, why is that, you ask?
Locked down.
We've got raccoons, we have coyotes, we have skunks, we have field mice, and all of those little stinkers want to eat my chickens. So lock them up. Lock them up at night. Keep them safe. Okay.
So she's going to do this every night. And that, I mean, yes, you're going to want to lock up your chickens. Make sure that they are in the coop every night. Depending on where you're at in the country, you're going to be dealing with a lot of different pests. What's really nice, if you don't want to be walking out shutting the coop up like this, pick yourself up one of our automatic doors.
Yeah, we sell a door that it's the Auto Coop Smart Door. It is ran from a little timer that syncs to your time zone, and you can set the open and close times for that. So your door will automatically open or close. It's just something makes the whole process a little easier, and kind of gives you a little peace of mind that the door is closed, your chicks are secure. One thing I did notice with her is that she even closed her little sliding like vent hatch or whatever there on the side. That might be a little bit of overkill. Not a lot of critters are going to be able to break through that mesh hardwire. Bear obviously could, stuff like that. But I don't think a raccoon or a mink or a weasel or a skunk or a possum, any of the things that are going to be immediate threats to your chicken that could fit through that, are going to necessarily be able to pull that out. So I can see where she's going. Maybe she has some critters that could make it through there.
Yeah, maybe a raccoon, but like the mesh on there is going to hold it off. But then I'd worry about more humidity levels getting screwed up. You got to have that draft. But yeah, not bad. Yeah, just a friendly reminder. Make sure your chickens get in the coop.
Yep, definitely a little bit of keeper information there for sure.
Yeah. All right. Also, continuing on TikTok, we got Simply Chickens. All right.
It's finally time to stock my incubator with these hatching eggs. This is a 16 egg incubator and I have 18 eggs, so we're gonna make this work. I only have one of this color and this is what the roosters look like. I would love a rooster in a Furness Bantam Cochin color. I'm praying that that egg actually takes. The typical hatch rate for shipped eggs is only 30 to 50%, and that's because these eggs have been through a lot during shipping. In worst cases, no eggs will hatch, but I've never had this happen to me. The color cochin eggs here are buff, Euro partridge, silver penciled, bobtail, lemon blue or lemon blue splashed, chocolate or blue mottled, red brown, or lemon barred. I like to keep my humidity between 45 and 55% for the first 18 days, and my temperature here is still building, but I like it to be at 99.9 degrees Fahrenheit. I am loving this incubator. Of course, it has an automatic egg turner, a built-in egg handler, and you can connect it to an app on your phone. The app shows you all the current settings, and it also will notify you if the humidity or the temperature drops or is too high. This is an awesome feature, especially if this is your first time hatching. If you're looking to check out this incubator,
All right. So she's loading the eggs into the incubator. And she's got some specific ones. I like that she's actually written out the type of bird, or actually, put it on there. I wouldn't put it on Sharpie for the egg, honestly. Put it on a sticker, color code the sticker, put it down. She wants a certain cochins. But I mean, just like we were talking about, she's doing a little bit of a test. I wouldn't test until the eggs have actually, the incubator's actually been running. She kind of cold tests this in there. So that's one thing you got to watch out for. I want to make sure it's up and running. Still getting up to temp a little bit for sure, but make sure that it's up and running and your humidity's dialed in, and the egg turner actually works appropriately. So she's doing a lot of good things here. I would just do a little prep work test ahead of time.
Yeah. She's definitely got the right idea with everything, but I probably would have let it run for a bit before I put those eggs in, and I wouldn't have unplugged it when I popped the top. I would want the heater and everything to keep running, just so when I did put the top back on there, it would be able to kind of pick back up where it left off. You did nail it with the whole, using the permanent marker on the eggs. Those shells are absorbent. They're going to, they're going to absorb any kind of fumes or chemicals that are around it. So I definitely would stick to a pencil. A pencil is going to be just fine. And I'm never a huge fan of double stacking eggs into an egg slot. I know she's got the cochins, so they're a little smaller and they fit in there, but they're already at kind of a disadvantage being in the center. They're not going to turn as much as the eggs on the outer circle. And you can kind of see when she tests it here, they don't really move much because they're binding against each other as well. So that's just something to keep in mind, that you can kind of cause user problems when you're doing stuff like that.
Yeah, you definitely notice those don't really turn in the middle. And that's, it's physics right there. The closer you are to a pivot point in a datum, the less force you have around the turn. So
I do like that incubator though, with the I'm assuming built-in app or something for it. That's pretty impressive. Yeah,
for sure. All right, continuing on TikTok, we have Adelie, and they're claiming you can actually hatch any egg into a baby chicken.
You can actually hatch any store-bought egg into a baby chicken. Here's how. Any eggs will work, as long as they are less than 2 weeks old. Take your rooster specimen. Inject it into the bottom of the egg.
No, come on.
Why?
Are you kidding me? No, this is a joke.
You can actually hatch.
That's got to be for the clicks.
That's for the clicks.
That is for the clicks.
You can't artificially inseminate an egg, first off. Second off, who's masturbating the rooster to get
How are you getting that? How are you getting that? That is disturbing.
That much, semen.
Now, you can get some store-bought eggs that that come from a more natural a setting, and sometimes they can be fertilized, and sometimes you can incubate them and hatch them. There's a quail on YouTube. I think his name's Albert, who was a sensation years ago when I was a little younger. And the guy went to a local store, bought some quail eggs, threw them in the incubator. One of them hatched. That was Albert. But didn't do it like this. This is for the clicks. I absolutely do not like this video. And I'm just going to say this is beyond crapping it. This is like a double crap stack right here.
This is a triple crap stack. Okay, first off, you cannot artificially inseminate an egg like that. That's impossible.
No.
Second off, these are like store-bought eggs, okay? Store-bought eggs are washed. They've been probably out of the good incubation cycle. Like, there's no way you can like incubate. These eggs have been sitting on a store shelf for a month. Even if they were fertilized, which they are not, your chance of them not, you could probably, and like you said, get away with getting some eggs from like a farmer's market, maybe. Roll the dice, throw them in there. But this is not a hack. You cannot do this. This is pure fakeness. Shame. Just
do not like. Oy.
Well, that's a crap it for sure. All right. Okay, here's another one. This is Joe Foster on TikTok.
So normally eggs take a few weeks to hatch. So I've learned a quicker way. Microwave.
Okay, you're saying you're going to hatch an egg
around
by throwing
3 minutes
it into a microwave.
And watch what happens.
Didn't even clean your dingy microwave for this video.
3 minutes up. See if it's worked.
Oh look,
my
it's a
God.
chick. It's a fully hatched chick that's already dry. How did he do it?
Oh my Lord. That's definitely another one for the clicks right there, ladies and gentlemen. Do not put your eggs in the microwave. Do not try this. This man is doing it for the clicks and for the humor.
You do that, you're gonna get an exploded egg and have a mess. And heaven forbid, you put a little baby chick in the microwave. If you would have started that microwave, that could have damaged that chick. But,
oh my goodness.
Anybody knows what a baby chick looks like knows that this chick is at least a day old.
Yeah, that's don't like it. Crapping it. That is goofy.
It's crap. Not a chicken hack, okay? There's no microwaving eggs.
Do not microwave your eggs.
You could probably turn an old microwave into an incubator, which might...
Yeah.
I would like to see that,
Yeah.
That's actually not a bad, shell for an incubator. They're insulated, so that might work, but you're not going to, I'm
still in shock, yeah. But yeah, don't do that.
But yeah, I actually think you could probably build a decent incubator out of a microwave, now thinking about it, because it already has the turner.
Oh my goodness. Yes, that is true. That is true.
You take out the microwave on it, you add in just a heating element and a humidifier, you're in business, baby. You don't like. I bet you there. All right.
Hear me out. Hear me out on this.
Yeah.
Hear me out on this.
Okay.
Use a Nurture 360 circular turning tray to replace the glass the base. Using the IncuKit Mini, cut a hole in the top for the IncuKit Mini to go into. Bada boom, bada bing. You might have yourself a nice little incubator. I mean, I don't know how radiation affects it. I don't know if that's a thing
don't turn on microwave.
Yeah. I don't know if it like holds on to the radiation or anything. I'm no, I'm not a rocket doctor, but I can tell you that the case itself would probably be an okay use for an incubator. It'd be interesting to see it done.
Okay. All right. Now, also on TikTok, this is Duncan 001. Hatching a chick without an eggshell. I always find these are fascinating, by the way.
Eggshell. This video takes you on a 21-day journey to witness how to hatch a chick without an eggshell. This video takes you on a 21-day journey to witness a life miracle. Prepare a sterile plastic cup, a sufficient amount of saran wrap, then pour in calcium lactate and add distilled water. This simulates the environment of a chick inside an eggshell. Find a large egg, Use tweezers to remove its shell and crack it open into the egg liquid. Seal it with saran wrap. Put it in a 37-degree incubator. Next is the 21-day process of incubating a chick without a shell.
So how I see this, but like they get good footage of that. But how healthy is that chicken going to be? Like not incubating in an egg, I wonder.
Yeah, I've seen this done. I know that this is something that people can actually do. It does, curiosity stirs when you think about
You might find
the
this
embryonic
experiment
exercise
boring, with a low
and
success
turning
rate
that
due to the
egg
complexity
because
of the
that
process.
Isn't that
That's
a
what
waste creates
of
a strong
resources?
chick. I would be curious to know how after hatch how it is or how it comes out. Maybe it's just fine, maybe it's not, but at least I do know that this is a real thing they've done this in middle schools. I've seen middle schoolers pull this off, so
I might want to
it
try
is
it. It
definitely a
looks
thing.
cool. The success rate's really low though, so
I would imagine. Yeah,
it definitely looks cool. But yeah, I mean, calcium sulfate and distilled water, and then continued protein exemption around it. I mean, as long as the conditions are dialed in, I mean, you'd really have to dial in the incubator and make sure it's not fluctuated, because that embryo is exposed way more without having an eggshell. So,
yeah, and the tests that I've seen this done in, they're using a medical incubator. That's a rare, very, very, very high end incubator. So, that's interesting for sure. I don't know if this falls under a keep it or a crap it. Falls under definitely an
I
interesting
think it's cool. But,
thing. Yeah.
yeah. All right. Okay, up next on YouTube. Let me get that. Pull it up. All right, this is the Big Feather Farms. Okay. Let's see what we got going on here. Big Feather Farms.
After I confirmed that one of my roosters was an egg-eating cannibal, I had to put him
yolk
into
junkies.
retirement and take out of retirement
Got a
Bob the
cannibal
rooster. I opened the
rooster.
door for Bob to come out of his coop, but he wouldn't come out with me putting grass on the ground, and even then he just stared at it, so I just had to pull him out, and once I got him, I carried him over to his new coop. I set him down, and he got excited because there was a hen in the doorway, and he immediately went over to her and started dancing and fell out of the doorway. So I locked them together and opened up the other door so I could get this rooster and put him inside of his coop. Once I got him, I carried him over and gently set him down where he immediately went in. After he was in, I opened back up the door so Bob could get to know the rest of the hens. Now make sure to subscribe to see how Bob does.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, it happens with roosters sometimes to become little cannibals. And
Even your hens do it. It's not just roosters.
hens will do it too. Yeah.
Yep.
When you want introducing another rooster to a flock, though, I always think it's probably good to put them in a little cage and introduce them that way, get them used to each other. I know he just puts them in with one hen and then introduces them with the other hens. They're naturally going to develop the pecking order, but give them a little more exposure, I would say.
Yeah, and a little hack to go along with this, if it's something that is happening in your coop and you do want to prevent it, a golf ball or a wooden egg or a ceramic egg is great to detour it, because after a couple pecks against one of those, they'll realize that it's going to hurt them and they can't crack it, and they'll generally cut down on the yolk eating. But the chickens are weird. Sometimes they do it for nutritional reasons, and sometimes they do it just because that delicious yolk is delicious.
Yeah, we eat eggs too, so I don't blame
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, a good little hack to watch out. I like that, using the golf ball or ceramic egg, because that will deter them for sure. All right. Now from the Poultry Doc podcast on YouTube.
Frostbite, I read about it all the time. Obviously this time of year it's cold, temperatures can get into the extreme low digits, and when our birds are exposed to that, the combs and wattles and toes especially are most susceptible to those extreme freezing temperatures, and those will cause frostbite. Basically the tissue dies, it freezes, and then what eventually happens, it sloughs off. So if you have a bird that has frostbite, Really, the only thing you can do is is to keep it clean. Don't try to break any of that tissue away. We don't want to really interfere with the body's ability to just take care of itself. In this case, if you got a frozen toe or damaged wattles, that frozen or that dead tissue will become demarcated from what's alive, and the body will just slowly slough it off, basically. And so what we're going to do is just keep it clean, make sure it's not getting infected. If it does, and that's another issue that we need to address as far as the infection goes. In most cases, birds will be able to slough that tissue off, sadly, because we can prevent this, and birds will get over it. Now, if it's their feet, it can be very painful too, and so those birds won't want to walk. You'll see some supportive measures where they're putting those birds in a sling, really deep bedding to prevent pressure on their feet because of the pain that's caused by frostbite. Frostbite, I read about it all the time.
No, yeah. I mean, we just had a podcast on this about frostbite. And yeah, this time of year, especially across the United States, you got to be watching out for your chickens and frostbite. One thing that definitely, I mean, the chicken will slough off the dead tissue, but what you'd want to watch out for is the exposure to the cold, but also the humidity and wetness. That's what causes a lot more frostbite than just plain old cold.
Yep.
And do your preventative measures. If you're worried about it on the wattle, on the comb, put some coconut oil, put some Vaseline oil on it. You can even do that on their feet, but make sure that they're out in a good ventilated area. You have good ventilation in your coop, and you have some good, if you're doing a deep litter method, the coop's going to be fine. If your coop design is good, it'll be fine. If you need to put supplemental heat, don't do a light. A lamp. Put in a radiant heater.
Definitely. Yeah, there's definitely some good information here. Definitely, goes over the things we discussed in the previous podcast, and definitely some keep it information.
For sure. All right. Now we have White House on the Hill.
Okay, so I had a fun idea. What's the most expensive chicken breed that I own? Now, keep in mind, most laying hens are about $20 to $25. So I'll start with number 5. That's our Egyptian Fighting. It comes in around $30 for a bird. Now, meet Poppy. She's our white-faced blue Spanish. Comes in around $40. We got this one from the UK. This is Johnny Cash, our all-black I am Chimani. And these guys are worth about $10 to $20 per egg, about $50 as a chick, about $100 as an adult. This is Shammy, our Shammy Spitzalbin. He's got a devil horn right there. Shammy Spitzalbins are worth about $30 per egg, about $60 per chick, about $120 for an adult. I don't know if I'd pay for this guy. And our most expensive chicken breed, you guessed it, the Indio Gigante. They're the tallest chicken in the world. They're about $50 for an egg, about $100 for a chicken. I think some people might even pay $200 for them as an adult. So, what'd you think of my list?
Yeah, those
do we need to add?
Those gigantes or gigantes, whatever they call them. Those are
chicken breed that I
those are interesting looking birds for sure.
Yeah, can you call it chicken?
Yeah, they border on little dinosaurs.
Yeah, seriously, they border on almost little turkeys, honestly.
Yeah,
looking at them. But cool breeds. Depending how you're getting into them and the shipping and everything else, that's what's crazy about chickens. They're like dogs. They got breeds all over the place and prices for them all over the place.
Yep.
What's the most expensive chicken you've ever gotten?
Oh, looking back on it, I don't think I have actually ever had an expensive chicken. I've had like Rhode Island Reds, which would be the only like purebred chickens that I ever really had, which are not expensive at all. I am a huge fan of the barnyard mixed chickens, A, because they're cheap, and B, because you always get something interesting out of it. It's just a mixed breed of chickens that look really cool. But there has been times in my life where I've looked at some of these rare breeds and really wanted to try them. I just haven't tested my luck with it yet.
Yeah, I'm tempted to get one of those black chickens, the all black ones like he's got there, just because they look so cool.
Yeah,
they're interesting for sure. And the double horn, man, that thing's crazy.
Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah.
Little spiky hair and his devil horns.
Yeah, he's got a cool look to him. That's it for Keep It at Coop It. We found some good hacks. Definitely found some craps.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna coop some things. We're gonna crap some things. So
Oh, I cannot stop thinking about that. The lady inseminating her own chicken eggs. That's the strangest thing I've seen on the internet today.
yeah, that's definitely a strange thing, and it's probably for the clicks. That lady.
It's got to be for the clicks. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why you would. The problem is someone out there is going to think, "Oh, I'm going to try that," and it's going to be. It's not going to end well for
Common
anybody.
sense.
Don't do that.
Common sense, people. Common sense. You can't artificially inseminate an egg like that.
You cannot.
No. Nope. That's not gonna happen. Well, I mean, let's bring this one home, Patrick.
Yeah, for sure.
This month in February, we're deep diving all into incubation. Today we went over incubation prep. Definitely things to watch out for your pre-prep work, right? You got to make sure everything's up and running. It's very important to have a test run 24 to 48 hours before you incubate. Test your equipment, even if it's brand new. Make sure it's up and running and good. Make sure it's wiped out, it's cleaned down, not over clean. Just soap and water, no harsh chemicals. Make sure your heating element's good. Make sure your humidity's working good. Make sure the egg turners are good. Those are all important things to watch out for before you put the eggs in the incubator. That's going to increase your hatch rate. If you want to increase your hatch rate, do your preparation ahead of time.
That is correct. This is an investment. You're investing financially, emotionally. You're investing time into this. You just want to make sure you're doing it right and you're getting the best results out of it that you can.
Exactly. Well, till next time, happy hatching. I'm Shawn Bailey.
I'm Patrick Lyle.
And this has been Hatch Talk.